She said, and I quote, "I want to burn my practice down and start from scratch." And I cracked up, and then I gave her this response. "Well, let's just burn it down then." Now that may sound crazy to you, especially if this is your first time catching one of my videos, but the truth is I talk to her the same way I would talk to her if she was one of my clients across from me. Now, yes, she was in a Facebook group and kind of putting this post out, stream of consciousness style. She was definitely, you could kind of feel the energy of her being frustrated. She really hated everything from her website to her intake forms. So there was clearly a sense of her being frustrated with her practice. But the truth is, it is not at all uncommon for women to go into entrepreneurship hoping for freedom and fulfillment and joy and impact and income, and end up with something that might look good on paper but feels not so great on the inside. And I am one who personally believes that you should have a business that has impact and income, that puts your life first and allows you to live the way that you want to live. So if I was having a full session with her, I tell her a few different things. So I'm going to share those things with you in this video. Now, I know a lot about what it means to have a business that you love, that is financially secure and provides for your family. I also know a lot about what it means to have a business that serves you and serves you well. And a lot of times what happens is we build businesses based upon the model that worked for someone else, but doesn't work for us. And typically in the mental health space, particularly the private practice space, a lot of the models that are currently operating were really created by a little white guy in a sweater vest who was operating in a completely different fashion than what you probably are in 2025 and beyond. So if you have a practice that is building, some income and actually serving the community, that's great. But if it doesn't serve you or it leaves you feeling like you're failing your family, it's not sustainable. So while I don't suggest that we burn it down, I do want to talk you through some of the things that you can do to get to the place where you love your business and it loves you back. Okay. So first of all, I want you to identify which of these three categories you fall into, right? Are you booked and busy and loving it, where you have a great business that is profitable, is serving the community, is paying you well, and feels good to you? And some people in this category, they maybe want to do a little bit more, maybe go a little bit farther, maybe expand. They might be ready for scale, like having, a bigger impact in their community, but they're doing really well, right? Are you want to be booked and busy, meaning that you don't quite have a business that's sustainable yet? This is often in that first 2 to sometimes as many as 5 years where you're figuring a lot of things out. You might be bootstrapping it. You might be trying to figure out, what is your sweet spot with clients, how many sessions you want to have, all those sort of things. If that's you, we'll talk about some things you can do. But I really designed this video for the third category. So if this is you, you are absolutely going to get some great value here. Are you booked and busy, but hating it? If that is you, this is definitely the space for you, because what probably has happened is you've built something that looks good on paper. You prioritize income stability. You prioritize providing a great service. You probably took every single referral that came in the door. You might have been working mornings, nights, and evenings. You might even have thrown in some weekend hours there. And chances are you built a practice that has a great reputation and is financially secure. But what tends to happen, and I think this is one of the things that I really want you to get from this video, is that we have a tendency to believe that a business is this fixed entity, that it can't grow and develop and be responsive to our needs. And that's just simply not true. It absolutely can. Like, you literally created a business for freedom. Why do you not feel free? So what I want you to really be thinking about is this business serving me in this season of my life? You might have built your business for the previous season of your life, right? Maybe you built a business before you had kids, or you built a business before you got married, or maybe you built a business before you had a chronic health condition and now you're needing to switch it up. Maybe you built a business before the economy tanked. Maybe you are in that, booked and busy and loving it category, but you realize like, hey, a large percentage of my clients are actually on insurance payments, right? They are, I'm in network with their insurance. If their insurance policies change in the next 30 to 60 days and come top of the year, they're paying, exponentially more and can't pay for their deductible. In addition to that, what is that going to mean for my practice? That is one of those things that I really want you to think about as you decide what is going to work for you. Now, I'm going to include a few links around this video to help you. I've got a blog post about how to make more money from each individual client in an ethical way, about how to, I've got some information about how to structure your business. I've also got a link for you to be able to sign up for a strategy session with me. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the end. But ultimately, if you have reached a phase of your life where you say, my business and I are in a love-hate relationship and something has got to give, I want you to take me up on my offer for a strategy session, because what happens when we have that conversation is I am going to help you look at all of the things that are going on in your practice and find the domino problem. Now, what is a domino problem? Here's what I call it. A domino problem is the thing that if we solve it, will change so much of your business that it will be like we just knocked down a whole row of dominoes, right? For most people, they think about what is this thing that I hate in my business and let me fix it. Well, what ends up happening when you follow the things that you hate is that you keep finding more things that you hate. So you start with hating your website, and so you want to redo that. And then you get a new website, but you realize that in order to get the new website, you need to get new photos for the website. And it just keeps adding on and adding on. One of the things that I know is that you don't have that much time. If you're booked and busy, you probably don't have as much time as you would like to have. And so we want to make strategic moves and changes that free up some time and free up some income for you to be able to get the impact that you want in your life. So I don't necessarily choose the loudest problem in your practice to fix, but we choose the one that's going to have the most impact. So you might be asking yourself, how do I know how to do that? Well, here's how. It started with me supporting my sister in her practice. I still am the what we call fractional director of operations. So I work with her practice on a contract basis, overseeing all of the operations of a practice that has been in business for 15 years and done over 20,000 sessions and millions of dollars in revenue. Okay. So this practice, which is a group practice and a relatively small group practice, to be honest, in terms of the number of people we have actually serving, but we have a massive amount of impact, right? And the income is doing pretty good too. And the reason why we're able to do both of those things is because we are very strategic about what we do. And when I came into the business, so I've been, obviously it's my sister, so I've been around the business a lot, but when I kind of came in as a employee to kind of work with the business, it was at a time when she was really saying, listen, I am tired of taking these phone calls. I am tired of tracking this down and tracking that down and trying to figure all the things and all these moving pieces. She really wanted to expand into the corporate consulting space. She had some opportunities. We knew that the money was going to be great in that space. And it was going to allow her to scale back her caseload without having to give up her income. But we needed a system to make that work. And that's where I came in. Now it was easier for me to come in and look with my strategic eye at what needed to change because I had been running my own business. And as a solopreneur, a single mother, and someone who didn't always have a ton of money to invest in my business, I had to go for impact rather than all the bells and whistles. And the simplest business is generally the best one because it's the one that can be responsive to grow with you and meet those needs without you wasting too much time and being overwhelmed, right? So if you're finding yourself feeling overwhelmed by all the moving pieces of your business, let's get on to the next phase of our work together. So like I said, I want to identify what is that, in a strategy session, I want to identify what is that domino problem that we need to solve that will, once solved, create massive impact in terms of the quality of your life around your business. Instead of starting with what's the biggest problem, I want to start with what's actually working. What is working in your business gives us a good indication of what is the foundation for you to build on. So let me give you an example. Maybe you really love the type of clients that you're working with. You've got a caseload of 25 and you've got 20 clients that you absolutely love serving. Those other 5 you could take or leave, but those 20 that are working moms who are, reestablishing their identity, who are setting healthy boundaries and no longer feeling crippling anxiety, those women, you love working with those women so much. That is a great place for us to start. Now, maybe we identify that the domino problem is you haven't created a marketing strategy around attracting those people. And so as you attract more of those great fit clients for yourself, you have an opportunity to stand out as an expert, to charge a higher rate, and then not take on so many. Or maybe you decide that the way you're going to serve these clients is to move them from the one-on-one work to a couple of groups, and maybe some, maybe only one monthly call or less, something along that line, kind of like a transition plan. That is going to allow you to, again, have the same amount of money in less time, right? And in some businesses, that can actually even really be good for your business, because let's say, for example, the insurance issues do become a problem and people don't have the same amount of money to invest. If you've already got this container build that says like, hey, if your income has changed and you can no longer afford, $150 a week or $200 a week, here's a really great opportunity for you. And you just slide them into that process, right? So that is what helps us. When I was working with my sister, one of the things that we identified is in order for her to have income protection and also like stability in the business, she wanted to make sure that as all these great referrals were coming in, because she had a wonderful reputation, as these great referrals were coming in, she didn't want to have to turn people away. So an easy solution for us was to get more therapists in the building. That's great, right? But the truth is, could we handle it? Could we handle more therapists in the building? Well, at that point, probably not. We were missing things like an employee handbook, and we didn't have a great onboarding process. And the biggest problem, the domino problem for us, administrative work. For every client that's coming in, you need to screen their insurance. You need to make sure they're a right fit. You need to get them, registered and have all of their intake forms done, so you're compliant. You got to do all of that. And previously, she had been doing that all by herself. When she hired one staff member, they took over and started doing their own. But sometimes that doesn't work out. So sometimes it was right, sometimes it wasn't. But if you're going to scale something, you've got to have a system that supports the growth, right? So we put in place an administrative process that include a VA, that include a virtual receptionist service. It costs a few $100s per month, but it took us from having to worry about how you were going to have the energy to return calls at the end of the day and whether or not they would have already booked with somebody else by the time you got to them, to them getting an immediate response and a very simplified process. Now, we chose a path that was not hiring a full-time receptionist. So cost-wise, it was pretty reasonable. But it took a little bit of investigation to get us there, right? To get us to the place where this makes sense for us. And that is what I would encourage you to do. Think outside of the box. Maybe the option of hiring more people isn't great for you because you don't want to manage anybody and you don't want to be responsible for anybody else's income. Maybe for you, what might be a great option is to become an affiliate for someone else's program or partner and refer back with another practice. Maybe you want to start creating products or workshops or events or retreats. The key here is there's a lot of different models that will work for you. It's all about finding the right pieces to the puzzle and putting them together to get that beautiful picture. When I started my business years ago, I was a parent coach, right? So I worked with parents one-on-one. It was a good job for me, but it was a lot harder because parents don't always have disposable income. And the parents that I really wanted to work with really didn't understand parent coaching. They would come for therapy, but there was a lot of education that had to go into that process. So over time, my business developed and I started working with schools and youth serving organizations and serving them in that way, right? And I did everything from workshops to personal development to coaching of the staff. That is something that I did for a long time. A couple years ago, I started to get a rumble. I started to feel less connected to the school world, and I really wanted my business to be different. To be honest, I started learning as I grew my business. I realized I really love being a boss. I really love being involved in business and the business development. I love looking at KPIs. I love creating standard operating procedures, all that stuff. I love it. And I get a lot of excitement and satisfaction and fulfillment from putting a plan in place and watching the plan work. And so as I decided that was more of what I wanted to do, I pivoted again. And I decided to do a little bit more in the way of business coaching and business strategy and business development. So my business has grown and evolved. Now, it's been a great thing for me because the way that my life is set up, it gives me the flexibility that I need to go and do what I need to do. I spent the last couple of days, before recording this video, moving my mom into her assisted living. And so I have that type of freedom and flexibility because I've built a business that allows me to do that. And you can have the same thing. You absolutely deserve a business that you love, that lights you up, that doesn't feel like a punishment or a ball and a chain. The key here is that it's waiting for you to build it. And I would love to help you do that, right? When I am coaching you, we can start with something as simple as a simple strategy session. I become your thought partner. I'm listening to the vision for your life that you have, and I'm going to help you craft that. I'm going to help you think about those blind spots. I'm going to help you identify that domino problem and come up with a solution that fits into your life and give you a timeline that you can follow. That is what having the support of strategic eyes can do for your business. Because here's the thing, guys, you've built something amazing. The fact that it doesn't feel great is just an indicator that it's time for a change. And that can be a little bit scary, but it can also be amazing. So I want you to click the link around this box, wherever it is. And I want you to sign up for one of my strategy sessions so that I can help you build the business of your dreams without having to start from scratch.